Have you noticed how all your friends seem to be doing very well these days? They seem to have lots of time to spend with their friends and the kids. They eat green, healthy food, and they work out a lot. Basically, they seem to have come to master the art of the carpe diem. At least if they're judging from their social media feed. And they're not alone. We all do it. We all filter our images. We all upload the stuff that we like, and we keep all the ugly pictures hidden away from the public. So what we're getting now is not when we look online, it's not the truth, the unfiltered truth, but rather a very filtered version of the truth. And lately, I've noticed that it seems to be the same kind of behavior seems to be shifting over into the offline world as well, where we start to get this little small, unnecessary lie, and we tell them to each other every day. We say things like, "I'm so happy to see you," although we're not happy to see them. We say like, "I'm just around the corner, I'll be there in 1 minute," although we're not around the corner and we won't be there for long. And we say like, "No, didn't get that email," although we did get that email. So why are we lying? Why are we lying, since even though we heard things, we were this small that you shall not lie? This interested me a lot, and so I spent some time researching why other people lie. Yes, you heard me right, other people, because I assume in here it's decent, honest people. None of you are liars, isn't it? Anyone here feels like a liar? Raise your hand, please. Okay, a few of you, so we'll ignore you, and the rest of us is decent people. But obviously, the number one lie we tell ourselves is that I'm not lying at all. It's all the other people that are lying. Here's some other truths. Everybody's lying every day about lots of stuff. Yes, everybody, even the Pope. 2, people won't hate you for lying. Not at all. Your mother, the vicar, your teacher, they will all be lying to you all your life. You will not become successful if you lie, rather the opposite. Actually, you can find it when you go to a party and you get approached by 2 kinds of people. You have the truth tellers and you have the liars. And who do you think will become the most successful? Obviously, it's the liars. Because the liars, they make you feel good. They say that you look amazing, that they love to see you, and they've heard so much about you. The truth tellers, they say that you look overweight, you're overworked, and you didn't call them last time like you promised. And that's why everybody hates the truth tellers. They're awful people. Where the liars, yes, I mean, to honest people, they can get a decent job, but liars, they can get as far as they want. So it seems like lies are some kind of social lubricant in our lives. And that, of course, might be a bit of a controversial standpoint. When I was starting my research project, I was at a dinner in California, and I had this lady next to me, and I was telling her about my project, and I said, "That's an awful project," she said, and she turned around. And I said, no. And I tried to explain everything I just told you about it being a social lubricant, that you have to say certain things in order to make other people feel good. And then she looked around at me, and then she looked at me, and she talked very slowly, like you do to a small, unintelligent child, and said, "Ah, but that's not lying, because here in America, we have other words for that." So I quickly learned that everyone seemed to have their own definition of what is a lie. And it happens to be so that that definition gets ourselves very easily off the hook. So we rationalize our behavior, and then we say that, so that thing I told you about, I didn't get that email. I didn't get the email. I didn't understand it at all, actually. Because when someone sends you an email which is completely incomprehensible, it's like that never existed, and so that's what I said. I didn't get the email. That's how we rationalize things in the everyday life. So how should we then define a lie? We often think about lies as the opposite of the truth, but it's not. Truth and lies are in fact just 2 different labels of the same situation. Ask 2 siblings about their childhood and you'll see. They will give you, each of them will give you a story, and they might match at some points, but of course there's some things where they completely deviate from each other, and they might even get angry at each other when they hear that other people telling it, and so they will accuse each other for being liars. But they're both liars, or they're both truth tellers, because in fact the opposite of a lie is a fact. Facts are clear, facts can be checked, facts are neutral. So if you have to define a lie, it should be something that is an unfact. And that's why we research, we can say that we lie between 20 and 200 times a day, between 20 and 200 times a day. That's how many times we deviate from the truth. That's how many times we say things like, I'm so happy to see you, when in fact I'm not. This is something to remember if you want to write your memoirs. Otto von Bismarck was a great statesman of the 19th century. And when he eventually sat down to write his memoir, he wrote this Danken und Erinnerungen. It's an amazing book about the events that shaped the late 19th century. But when you read it, you get the impression that he might be exaggerating. Because as he's held all these events, Otto is firmly in the center of things. You get the impression that empires might rise and fall, but Otto von Bismarck always stands tall. So, did he lie or not? Well, I think actually his memory failed him, or his memory lied to him. Because our memory is not a book that is written and stays the same forever. Our memory is much more like a hard drive, where the files get rearranged, and some get deleted, some get blown out of proportion, and some get completely lost in some file someone else has renamed. It's the same with our self-image. So we actually rearrange our memory to fit our self-image today. It's the same thing I would do if I felt that I had a time of my life when I was doing research in Cambridge. And even though I'm not English, I might assume that I'm sort of English. And so I might surround myself with English objects, I might dress up like a British intellectual, or I might adjust my English to this, a more proper English. The memory works the same way. It fades things that we don't like, it emphasizes things that we like about ourselves, and in essence, it rearranges the past to fit the present image we have of ourselves. This you can also notice when you write your CV, because it happens to be that it's full of errors. Actually, half of our CVs are false. The biggest exaggeration we can find in CVs is about how long we stayed at some job, or exactly what we did there, how involved we were in all the successes. This is, of course, not entirely our fault or the memory's fault. We could also blame the headhunters. Because I never heard a headhunter say, just make things up, though. Well, check your resume, make things up in order to land that job. But then I also never heard someone said, you only have to stick to the facts. It seems like when we write our resumes, we tend to argue in the sense of that the ends justify the means. And it happens so to be, is that the same kind of rationale we use in everyday life as well. We appear slightly bigger and better than we are. And so, in a way, Shakespeare was right. The world is a stage and we're merely players. But the roles we play on that stage is not roles that are completely alien to us, but rather enhanced versions of ourselves, the way we want to be perceived. The common denominator here is then that we get some kind of social advantages for lying. We say nice things we don't mean in order to be liked. We exaggerate our CVs in order to land that job. Or we give compliment to someone in order to get laid. There seems to be some kind of basic human need here in play. A basic human need to be seen, to be acknowledged. And that's what we long for. That's why we keep fumbling away with our mobile phones and looking at the social media, because this is longing to be seen, to be acknowledged that we actually exist as human beings. That is perhaps also why we lie. That is perhaps also why we sacrifice our integrity sometimes and put up selfies on social media in order to get those likes. And today, is there a situation when you would feel more lonely in this world, more like a single planet that nobody else cares about, than when you upload an image on Instagram and get 0 likes? Maybe deep down in each and every one of us, there is a voice. And I believe that voice is in each and every one of us if you just listen long enough or close enough. And that voice says that all I want is to be loved back. The way we're trying to meet that desire differs from person to person naturally. There are some people that are fully satisfied with getting a hug. Other people do get acknowledgement on a stage in front of an audience. And then there's the third category, and those are the ones that buys the red Ferrari. So the next time you see a guy in a red Ferrari, don't hate him, hug him. Because that's what he's longing for. And give him a compliment on the car while you're at it, because that will probably make the day, his day, that little lie. Should you expose liars? That's one of the most common questions I get after doing my research. Should I expose a liar? And I said, of course you shouldn't, because that will give you a huge social disadvantages. I told you everybody hates truth tellers. And by the way, truth tellers always have to lie to themselves. We have to tell themselves that they have the only real truth, and that everyone else will appreciate that truth. So no, they never expose a liar. But there's also another, maybe more important reason, is that that person telling that lie may be using that lie as a way of becoming slightly more happy. And who are we to take other people's happiness away? Because lies are not always told to deceive, but also to protect and sometimes to defend. A few years ago, I was in a relationship that wasn't working. And so we tried to fix it all by going this romantic vacation to Miami. It didn't work out very well there. We kept arguing every day, and after a few days, I was sitting on the balcony at night with tears falling down my cheeks, mourning a relationship I knew had come to an end. And so I uploaded an image on the nearby hotel and the night sky. I used the Amaro filter and added the caption, "I love the beautiful sky over Miami." That image was completely true and completely untrue at the same time. I do love the skies over Miami. They're beautiful, but the image did not reflect the situation I was in. I uploaded that image to defend myself against all the questions I knew I would be getting if I would upload the truth. And I defended them myself because I didn't have the answers. Sometimes it's much easier to lie than to tell the truth. Why do we believe people telling us lies anyway? First of all, we want to. We want to believe other people, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing that makes our society a good thing. What would we other be if we always suspected everyone else of lying? Number two, we hope things will end well. And so, since we hope that everything will end well, we tend to, when we think about things, we rationalize our behavior even there. We eliminate risk, we simplify difficulties, and we assume that complex problems might have a very simple solution. But if we weren't that rosy about the future, or rosy about opportunities, we might think differently about everyday situation. Then we might realize that our boss is not giving us that promotion, that our lover isn't going to divorce his husband, that your partner isn't going to take the next step. And maybe your daughter isn't responding as well to the treatment as you pretend she's doing. Maybe your beautiful 10-year-old isn't getting better. Maybe she's going to die. Because the truth hurts. And it is by lying to ourselves that we hope that it will be all right, that we save ourselves that pain. Does this mean I can lie as much as I want, you might ask? No, and yes, and yes, because you can't lie, because we're not that good at all at detecting lies that we think we are. Because if we were as good at detecting lies as we think we were, we would be looking at social media as soon as someone gets divorced and say, I knew it, I knew that would be coming. Because I've seen that the images they uploaded recently that they've been using the Amaro filter a lot. And if there's something that you can use to detect a relationship that has a very little of amore in it, it's when you use the Amaro filter. But of course, you cannot lie about everything all the time. That would be just crazy. But we might start to learn that the best sign that someone is living a life that seems too good to be true is just the fact that it seems too good to be true. So lesson here is that you might want to throw in one of the ugly pictures sometimes in your social media feed just to get the impression that you're more authentic. My message here is then not that we should stop lying in order to be better people, but that we should try to be better liars. By observing when we lie, what we're trying to hide or what we're trying to defend ourselves, we might get a better glimpse of ourselves and find an acceptable way of lying, acceptable level of lying in various situations. Then we can start lying when it's needed and when it serves our needs, and stop lying when it's completely unnecessary and just a bit crazy. Because the truth about lies is that we need them. They give us social advantages, they protect us from the painful truth, and they also have the ability to give others hope and comfort. That's why we lie even to the ones that are the closest and nearest to our hearts. That's why we lie when we hug our kids, because they're feeling sad, and we say that we will always be there for them. That's why we lie when we look someone we no longer love in the eye and say, we will always have each other. And that's why we lie at the same time as we grab the hand of a terminally ill friend and say, everything is going to be fine, I promise. It's not the truth, but what else would we say? Thanks.